Okay, it's on. Okay.
All right. Well, Jordan has a job at the press office, and we were always pretty critical about, it's your job, you're going to do it. And it was a holiday, Martin Luther King Day, and so they were out of school. So he wanted to go with his cousin out of town and wasn't going to be back for the route. So Sandra said, this one time, you can. So I came home from work, got home a little early, and I guess Monday's my day off, so I'd probably off that day. And she told me what was going on, and I was like, so who's doing the route? She said they had someone cover for him. Well, okay, great, we don't have to mess with it. And then after about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, just changed all of a sudden. I was kind of like, you know what, nah, I think we ought to go up and do it, So I asked Sandra if we still could. She goes, well, sure, if we go up there, they'd let us. So went up there, told Carson, hey, I'm here for Jordan. Is that okay? Can we still do the paper? He goes, oh yeah, it'd be great. So I was waiting on the papers to get processed and wrapped and all that, and I saw a gentleman outside, looked like something was wrong or whatever, and so I went to the door and I noticed there was a man laying on the ground, and so I went outside and then that's when I saw it was Jess, and I don't know how long he'd been laying there, but I would say he was dead just from people I've seen and just different things. And it was cold, and he was laying on the concrete, and he looked like he was already kind of purplish. And so I started doing chest compressions, told him to call 911. And I mean, there was just really, it seemed like no life. His eyes were open, and there was no movement. There was, at one point he did gasp and breathe, so at that time I thought he's starting to breathe. And later I kind of learned from people that were more in the medical profession and stuff, just said it was probably just the body just making that reflex or whatever. And eventually another police officer arrived and the ambulance arrived and they put the AED on him, and it didn't shock. And I'd never used an AED on somebody other than in training.
Yeah.
So I was ready for it to give a shock, like it always said, administering shock and stay clear. And it wasn't. I thought, is this thing not working or what? I mean, obviously he needs this shock. Well, I found out later also that when there's no rhythm, there's no anything, that it doesn't. So there's basically nothing to work with. So they ended up taking him to the hospital, and we, got our stuff for the paper and did our route. And I was just kind of beside myself, thinking, what's the family going through, now? And then I heard Life Flight fly in, and I was like, could that be for Jess, And then I got more kind of depressed in a way, because I was worried he was going to be on a ventilator, and now the family's got to make a decision, and I've seen where that's more difficult than just, somebody passing. The family having to say, we've got to do this or not do this. So the next day I wake up and I go to my chronological Bible reading, and I'm reading, and in Job 12:10 it said the life of every living thing is in his hand, as well as the breath of all mankind. And I was just like, wow, that's true, I mean, more true than I'd ever known it to be true. Watching somebody take a gasp of air, but then there be nothing, And so I thought, it was in God's hands then, and it was meant to be, I guess. And so then over the next day, we started kind of seeing a Facebook. They were kind of letting out just a little bit of, hey, my dad is mouthing the words, I love you, or something. I was like, what? You gotta be kidding. And then I heard about this, how they had him on ice, or some type of, and I thought, this is unreal. This is only God that, could have done this. And I thought, this is cool. And So Friday we planned to go over and see, which we did, and I think he was having a real rough day because of the medicine and stuff they put into him, and just kind of tossing and turning, but not. I don't think there was a lot of response necessarily, just a lot of movement because of the drug. So we visited with the family, and then I said, "Do you care if I pray, for him?" So I prayed, and for me, just thinking it was more for the family. And when I got done, Jess says, "Amen," audibly. I can hear "Amen," and I was like, I looked at him, and I was like, "This is cool," because the last time I saw him, he was dead, and so I look at the family almost not dismissing that, but just thinking that's all he can do, amen, this is awesome. So I'm looking at them, and almost like he's not in the room at this point, and he says, sometimes we just don't give God credit enough. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a whole sentence, and so it was just a neat thing. And then Saturday morning, someone who I don't think even probably knew this went on, that just sends scriptures every so often. Saturday morning I wake up, and there's a text from Psalm 73:26, and it said, God is my strength and my portion. Even if my flesh and my heart will fail, but God is my strength and my portion forever. And I just thought, well, how true. It's kind of a bookend from breath to even if our flesh and our heart fails, God's still the be all and end all. He's supreme, sovereign, and all that. So it just kind of put that in perspective for me as far as God.
Right.
That it was all Him, and it was cool that He allowed me to be there to see all that, because you don't believe it, you don't feel it, you don't know it if you just hear the story the way you are to be right there. And so when you ask me about had it changed me much, probably just the faith, because then I think back to we went on the paper route, and I just thought, reality and just the people I have seen that have died or were dead or whatever. Reality, I thought he's dead, and that's that. And there was really not the faith that, well, God can even raise a dead person, And so that for me just really strengthened my faith in that all things are possible through God.
That's right.